The following is a paid presentation for Big Business Secrets.
Everyone today is going to find offense in some things I say because I'm going to challenge your thinking. Whatever worked for your marketing 8 years ago doesn't work anymore. It's completely obsolete.
Our big claim to fame was a client starting a band called the Backstreet Boys. Using news groups and chat groups, we built a database of 2 million teenage girls around the world. They became the fastest selling band of all time because it was the first music band ever to leverage the internet to build a fan base. We've been most famous for real estate sales. We've helped condominium developers sell literally billions of dollars of condominiums cheaper, faster than anyone else. We sold 367 condos in 90 minutes. We did $1 million a minute for 90 minutes in Phoenix, Arizona.
People started showing up at 2:15 a.m. At 10 till 4, I heard voices outside, jumped out of bed, looked out the window, and there were a bunch of people in chairs waiting.
We know how to build an incredible buzz or incredible excitement around a property through our marketing efforts.
When we do marketing campaigns for developers, one of the things that we immediately do is we start tracking and measuring what they do. And we present our reports to them, and they're like, I can't believe all the stuff that we thought worked isn't really working. This is the reality of real-time customer service. If you don't have a process for that, you will not be in business in 5 years. This is what happens. Our expectations keep rising. You need to be ready when the customers are ready. What we're going to talk about here is going to reshape your business.
The way you sell today in 2013 is not the way you sold in 2010. The world has changed radically, and we need to be on top of where the consumers are. There's over 1 billion people that are going to use Facebook today. We Google everything. The iPad is the biggest selling product of all time. You can post a video now onto YouTube that literally within 11 minutes around the world, people will find it. If you still think that newspaper ads and yellow page ads and regular traditional media is going to help you in this new world, you are badly mistaken. For me to experience this over the last 15 years and help our clients leverage the internet to sell billions of dollars of products and services, it's really extraordinary. We're helping people move to this new digital world because this is a major transformation. This is a medium that can actually target exactly who you want to target in real time, literally in seconds or minutes, and we only pay if it works. This probably is the biggest marketing opportunity of our generation. After 15 years of doing this in 10 countries and 30 cities with global brands, is I think not only do the big companies need to know how all this works, but I think the small businesses, which are 90% of the economy, they have no choice but to learn how to leverage Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and really how to grow their businesses. And I'm a small business owner too, so I'm in this category, and we've been able to become one of the fastest growing companies in the country, a couple years in a row. We've grown our own business dramatically. So everything we talk about, we do ourselves. So I think that the reason big companies hire us and really innovative entrepreneurs hire us is we think differently. We've worked really hard for 15 years to stay ahead of the trends and help our clients transition, but we never rest on our laurels. So we never do what worked last year. We're trying to break new barriers and trying to find a better, faster, more efficient way to sell and market. We do that every day. We're very proud of our results in real estate, for example. Last 5 years, billions of dollars of condominium sales that we've done in 10 countries and 30 cities. But I'm equally as proud as some startup companies that we've helped. Some of our biggest successes ever have been startup companies that we helped grow to billion-dollar brands. We're in a generation now that's possible, and I don't think that was possible even a decade ago. Take action, don't just watch this and do nothing. Go to our website at n5r.com, and I think if nothing else, it will completely change the way you look at your company. We're helping businesses get closer to the customer, and that's what it's all about. And a lot of those old, outdated systems don't do that. But with the new technology, whether it's online or blogging or social media, it's really a way to build a relationship one-on-one with customers. And I think that's why we've been so successful. Hi, this is Roman Bodnarchuk, CEO of N5R. We are so excited about today's show. We have Paul Tashima, a great friend and partner for the last 13 years, whose company was recently acquired by Oracle for $1 billion. And just so we can say that again slower, imagine a company that we started working with 13 years ago as a startup that just got acquired by the #1 software company on the planet called Oracle, which paid $1 billion for Paul's company. It's a great success story for anyone watching, and I hope you got your pad and paper and can take some notes. So here we go into our exciting interview with Paul Tashima from Eloqua. Paul, thank you so much for making the time today to sharing how you guys did it with us today.
Thanks, Roman. Very excited to be here, and it's great to see you again.
Paul, I remember the early days when we started working together. They were not as glamorous as the big boardroom we're in today. But Paul, tell the audience, what was it like in the early days of Eloqua, and what was the culture like? Tell us exactly, this great entrepreneurial story, and where did it all start from?
When I started Eloqua, I worked 65 days straight. I didn't take a single day off, and so that was definitely the culture that we espoused, and we were all fairly young, all entrepreneurial in spirit. I think the other thing that's interesting about our business that doesn't always happen in a startup is we had to become profitable very early. If you remember in 2001, the downturn, the internet bubble burst, we couldn't get any funding. So we had to be profitable literally in our second year of existence. And if you look over the history of time, a lot of bootstrap companies actually have a higher chance of success because they learn two things. They learn how to be fiscally responsible with the money they have, and they learn how to build product that drives real value right away so that customers will actually pay and renew on it.
Tell us what the value proposition was for Eloqua then, and tell us what the value proposition is today.
All these companies were investing tons of money in the web, but no one was taking advantage of it from a marketing and sales perspective. It was really brochureware. And because of the internet, and really because of Google, people started to search and use the internet to find information about something they wanted well before they would ever talk to a salesperson at that business. And so we kind of came up with this concept called digital body language. And so it became important for marketing to use technology and the internet to try and figure out how to track and understand that as part of their marketing and sales process.
Paul, what does it take to create a great culture? What does it take to create a great entrepreneurial team to have a success story that grows from startup to reaching $1 billion buyout?
A lot of what happened in Eloqua as a business and the growth was due to a lot of hard work and a lot of focus. I mean, we were all very sales driven, as I know you are, Roman. It's a really important part. You can have a great idea, but if you can't get a customer to find value and pay for it, that's not going to happen. Your business is not going to grow. I mean, we had a very strong inside sales team. We really focused on demand generation as a science, and we used our own product and drank our own champagne, as they say, to really drive that pipeline through to customers and close.
When you are hiring and building this great team, what are the things what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs and business owners?
First off, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So you could have the best strategy in the world, but if you don't have a culture that wraps around and embraces and supports that strategy, you're not going to be successful. And then we had a culture around that really celebrated the success of marketers and wanted to build technology to make it easier for them to do these things that were new. And so what we did was we looked for people who had that great blend of business and technology, but were motivated on building something big and great and changing that industry.
Paul, you've worked with some incredible entrepreneurs. Now you work with Larry Ellison from Oracle. You started working with Mark Organ, the founder of Eloqua. What does it take to be a great CEO?
For me, a great CEO really has two primary qualities. First off, the thing that people don't realize if they've never been a CEO, and I haven't, is that at the end of the day, the buck stops with them. And so the CEO needs this quality, and there's this great book, Good to Great, by Collins, written about it, this idea that they need to have an undying faith that in the end they will be successful. I think the second quality of a CEO that I've seen is that, and been very, very important, is the ability to hire and attract great people to fill the areas they're not good at.
What are the most important things that you see in marketing trends today? What are the things that you see driving marketing today?
If you think about what's happened, and I'll give you a Google stat which is so interesting, that 10 years ago when we were going through this initial change, the average buyer checked 3 different sources before they purchased a product or service, and that's now gone to 10 different sources. And the challenge as a business is that you really only own one of those sources, and that's your corporate website and your campaigns. And so it's become even harder to get in touch with the buyer, you almost have to go out to where they are, whether they're on a social site, whether they're on their mobile phone, whether they're on viewing an ad on Forbes.com, and really bring that together in one view of the buyer. It's sort of the idea of one view of the customer that's been around since the dawn of time. I think another one is about data. And they use the term big data all the time, and I think the hardest thing is how do you make big data actionable? And what I'm starting to see is some real effort in some really smart customers and smart marketers where they're taking that data and they're using tools to really distill that down to something that they can do.
Paul, over the last decade, sales has changed radically. We now look at our smartphones 150 times a day. We are on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. What is the ultimate sales process today? How do you train your sales teams?
The best part of the sales process or buying process still is working with a great salesperson. But if you take a step back and look at the broader terms, I think the thing that we would focus on is, buyers are at all different stages of knowledge and interest level. And the perfect sales process with marketing is giving them the content on their time frame, when they need it and what they need. What you need to do is put content out there and put messaging and offers out there, see what's working, and then continually modify it as you get different streams of potential customers coming to your door. So my perfect process isn't sort of something that's linear laid out. It's actually something that's much more organic and responsive to their needs.
What's happened today is the world has changed massively. Today, with iPhones and Android phones that we look at 150 times a day, in offices where phones aren't even ringing anymore, where we're using these things that we call smartphones, but nobody uses them as phones anymore. How do you sell in a culture where people are spending 2 hours a day on Facebook? It's a completely different world. In our 15 years of working with the greatest sales organizations in the world, we've learned a lot. We've applied some of the best methodologies and technologies for sales training. I've worked with some of the very, very best salespeople in the world. People that earn 7-figure incomes every year, year in, year out, are just consistently amazing. And I've worked with some of the very worst sales teams on the planet. And I can tell you what I know they do, what habits they have, and I can tell you what habits the great ones do. We've been able to be very successful in this new world, and we can show literally in a 1-day and a 2-day, very structured training session how to take a C player and get them to B. We can take a B player and get them to A using the latest, greatest tools and technologies.
First application we want to take a look at is social media applications, and there's a lot of them on the market today, and the problem with them is they all lack this idea of context. They can't tell the difference between a stranger in social media, a lead in social media, or a customer in social media. They just don't understand us. It's not personalized. They're like the radio, they're like the TV, they're like these old school apps. This is HubSpot's new social inbox, but what's really awesome, where you pull the needles out from the hay, are these lines next to the people's pictures. The orange lines, those are leads in my database. The green lines, those are customers. Adding context into social media, really powerful.
We live in a world of real time. So these are some of the things that your sales team needs to know. And in 1 or 2 days, we can transform the culture of your sales team and take them to be among the best in the world.
If you think about when we sell, it's usually not, it's not logic and reason. It's almost never logic and reason. You think it is. So this, we all have to understand. And as sales professionals, you should live and breathe this. This is the most important investment. When people look at their businesses and they're trying to figure out, how do I reach my goals this year? Invest in yourself. Invest in educating your staff. It will absolutely make a huge difference for your company. I'm talking day one, and I really believe that the information that we can share with people on all the case studies and all the best practices that we've learned can help anyone grow their business. And we've documented this globally, around the world. Success stories, are unbelievable, and what we've been able to create literally in a couple days of intensive training. We look forward to working with you on helping your sales team reach your goals. Paul, in 2013, what's the perfect marketing process? Show us exactly what we should be doing today to sell and market in these exciting times.
Where we've been in the last 10 years is focus a lot on a known buyer, But what's starting to happen is, and what marketers realize is that it's really the unknown buyer that's really where all the pot of gold is. 80% of marketing spend is still on ads, TV, direct mail, events. And so how do you get out into that sort of what I call that ether of potential buyers, not necessarily knowing who they are? And so something that's starting to happen is we're starting to see this merge of offline and online becoming a reality. We're starting to see ads being able to be connected to the digital world in a real way that you can actually understand if someone's viewing that. And eventually when they become a known person, you can see that history of that interaction.
What are the things that you and your team are working on? What are the marketing trends and sales trends that you guys are studying and working on?
The thing that people are starting to realize is that the mobile device isn't just a device to view content. It's actually contextual with where you are. You know, often I'll look at an iPad when I'm actually having the TV on. In fact, I may see something on the TV that I want to check out on my iPad. The way that you should go about thinking about that from a business is that first find out where your customers are, and they're going to be everywhere, and then experiment. I mean, how much does it take to put up a Facebook page or write a blog post and then try and figure out where your buyers are? I mean, there's no exact science today on how to win in marketing and social. In fact, the hardest thing about social, for example, is the best way to influence you as a buyer is not to go directly to you. It's actually to influence you through someone that you trust, an advocate, someone else that's in your network.
Paul, what's different about the marketing teams today? How have you seen the marketing teams change and some of their skill sets? Tell us what you're seeing in those marketing departments now.
We're seeing much more focus on process and technology as needed skill sets. There's a great term that's being used now in the Bay Area in San Francisco called growth hacker. And what that is it's a new breed of marketer. It's a marketer who can do a little bit of HTML. They can understand creative and messaging. They can go understand search and how to use SEO. They can look at analytics coming from the website. They can bring that all together and then they can hack away at different ways to grow your business. It's a great concept because I think it's what you really need to do as a small business. Get one of these growth hackers, stick them on the front side of your business and get them to go and run and do things to try and drive inbound interest, activity that ultimately leads to deals and sales.
I've been obsessed for 24 years now with learning the process of sales and marketing and learning how technology impacts us. All these statistics and surveys we used to show people on how big the internet was going to be and how big digital marketing was going to be. And today they don't call it digital marketing, now it's just marketing because all marketing is digital. Why do you think companies are still using some things that are obsolete like newspaper ads, direct mail, or outbound calling? They can't track, they can't measure, they don't work. Whatever you saw that was successful for you, you tend to gravitate towards it. And people are not really good at embracing change. They kind of get a little stuck in their paradigm and they're not usually willing to try some of these new techniques. Things like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. Today, all the best tools are free. What's not free is people's desire to learn them. When you meet marketing people, they're like, yeah, I don't know if we really understand that Facebook thing, or I'm not really sure if it's a fad. I mean, I still have these conversations. To me, it's shocking. So unlike the old world of marketing where you run this ad, you do all these shows, and you hope and pray it works, here you only pay if it actually works. So I would say it's easier today than ever, but you need the education, you need the information, and unfortunately, I haven't seen any schools teaching it. I've had the great privilege of speaking at York University and Ryerson University and Queen's University and U of T. And when I go to those schools, I'm always curious, let me look at your course curriculum. What are they teaching you? And you find these textbooks that were written 5, 10, 15 years ago. And we've been fortunate, we're quoted in a lot of those old textbooks, but the stuff that we were quoted for doesn't work anymore. The whole idea of learning from old textbooks is not helping us. So I would suggest that people need to get the best information. For 15 years, we have worked with the biggest, most glamorous corporations on the planet, and I've studied and modeled the best communicators, the best salespeople, the best marketers. And what I've tried to do is distill those same techniques and methodologies and help our clients succeed. In every industry, people tend to do the same thing, all copying each other, and there's no innovation. And then where the real breakthroughs come through are when you look at other industries and you pull some of those ideas. But I would take it even a step further now, and I would tell you the consumer is further ahead than any company. We spent 6 years as a digital agency of record for Procter & Gamble. They're the biggest advertiser in the world, spend $2 billion a year. And they used to be in control. They've lost all power. The consumer is in power. Is there a learning curve? Of course there is. But if you take one step at a time, you're going to propel your business. You need to learn today's technologies, and I think there's never been a better time to do that. So today, we're going to unveil our software that we've been using for all of our clients. that alone could make a transformative effect on any company.
Websites cannot tell the difference between a complete stranger, a qualified lead on the forecast, or a loyal customer. Big context problem with websites. Everyone gets the same experience no matter where they are in the funnel, no matter what they've done, no matter what device they've used. We sort of reimagined what a website should be. We have a brand new, I think, revolutionary website system that's going to transform the way we sell our products. We call it the content optimization system. So now, the first time I visit your website, I'm going to get experience A. But the second time, I'm going to get experience B. And the third time, I buy, I become a happy customer, I get experience C.
You've got to learn this stuff. This is mission critical, and there's nothing that will propel your business faster, nothing that will grow your revenue, nothing that will make you more profitable than learning these amazing new technologies that just didn't exist a few years ago. So you've now heard firsthand from a young entrepreneur, Paul Tashima, which I've had the great privilege and pleasure to work with for the last 13 years. His company has recently been acquired by Oracle for $1 billion. And Paul is making some of his most exciting information available on our website. If you go to n5r.com, again, it's www.n5r.com, you're going to see a transcript of our interview today with Paul Tashima from Eloqua, and he's going to share some really exciting blog articles and things that have really shaped their company. So we're excited that you joined us today, and please visit our website at n5r.com to learn more. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you in our next episode of Big Business Secrets. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so honored and excited that you're here today in Toronto.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
If you're running a business, well, I don't know if it's 5 people or 50 people, and you've been doing trade shows, you've been doing your direct mail, you've been doing your Yellow Pages ads. What do you tell a small business that's been successful? They've been successful, it's old school, and they've got a couple salespeople. What advice do you give to them knowing where we are today in 2013? What would you tell a small business owner?
I think that the biggest advice to any business owner, small, medium, or large, is that your buyer has changed. And you need to adapt your marketing to how your buyers are buying today, right? And if you're not doing things to make sure you're ranking high in all the different search engines, if you're not doing things to be active in social media, if you're not becoming much more of a publisher, right? And providing information to people, you're not going to be attracting today's buyers. And the things that you have been doing historically, one year it's going to work, the next year it's not going to work at all. It's going to be this slow eroding process. But what you want to be thinking about is where's the future? Are people going to be doing more or less responding to cold calls in the future? I think it's going to be less. Are people more or less responding to direct mail in the future? I think it's going to be less. Are they going to use search engines more or less? Probably more. Are they going to use social media more or less? Probably more. Are they going to use blogs more or less? Probably more. So build your business for the future. And I think that's the whole point behind inbound marketing, is that you want to start to embrace the future. What are people moving to? Embrace today's buyer and tomorrow's buyer.
The other thing about HubSpot, it's a tremendous sales tool. I look at this and I can literally see not just my prospects, but because you guys have a whole lead scoring, I can see who's ready to buy.
Yeah.
If you could just tell us about that, because to me that is one of the most profound changes in all of sales history, that we can really understand the psychology of buyers and what stage they're at. If you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah. I think this is one of the things that's helped you become our largest, most successful partner within Canada, is the ability to sell effectively, right? So it's not only about lead generation, but what are you doing to engage those leads and sell them effectively? And there's a lot of things within HubSpot that help you do that. So we have lead scoring. So based on what parts of your website people are going to, or who they are, or how they've answered certain questions, you can assign them different amounts of points, so you can prioritize your salespeople's activity. We also have the ability, when maybe one of your leads, someone you're actively working with, they came back to the website today. Wouldn't you want to know that? We can send email alerts to people using HubSpot. So there's lots of tools like that help give your salespeople the best and most current, up to the second information about what's happening with their leads to really help them close effectively.
Our first salesperson that we put on the project had never sold real estate before. So understand, this is a brand new HubSpot integration within 30 days. A gentleman that's really fantastic, but never sold real estate. All we did was we sent a few emails out to their old leads. He was able to see who was clicking, who was doing. He has now done 7 condo sales. That's more than they did last year using the tool.
Yeah.
So to me, that's just unbelievable. And these are $500,000 plus condos. This is not, we're not selling candy bars.
Yeah.
This is big ticket items using the tool.
Absolutely. I think, especially in those considered purchases, that it's not just, an impulse buy, having the right information, knowing who's engaged, who's not engaged, and using that to devote your time more effectively as a salesperson is super important. It's all about putting the customer at the center of your world and being more responsive to the customer. And to do that, you need good information about what the customer is doing and how they're interacting with your company. So through our partnership, what we're going to offer is a free 30-day trial of HubSpot for anyone who wants to respond, and it's at n5r.com. And then folks can just go there and get the 30-day trial and check out the software for themselves.
Wow, you have completely changed our business. We've been fortunate to work with a lot of big companies and some big brands, and we're looking over there at the Trump Tower, and they're HubSpot customers and customers of ours.
Yes.
But I really honestly feel, as a small business owner and the small business that we help, HubSpot is really the most important thing that they can make a decision on. I would say since Google and pay-per-click, there's never been an innovation like this for marketing. So we really are very thankful for everything that you've done, all the hard work and your team in Boston has done for us. So we're very grateful.
Thank you. And for us, we get a lot of satisfaction hearing all these stories from all kinds of different customers and the fun things that they've done and how much they've grown their businesses and how much they've cut their advertising spend. So maybe close with one story. There's a guy who does pool installation in Virginia, down in the States, and he was able to cut his advertising spend by almost $500,000. And even though the economy had gotten worse, he installed 10% more pools.
Wow.
Just by starting a blog that was getting all this traffic of people, typing questions into Google about what type of pool they should buy and different things like that. He was getting all this traffic and he was able to really grow his business and cut his expenses by a lot. So the power of inbound marketing, you're absolutely right. And it's stories like that that get us so excited and want us to keep doing this and keep helping more businesses.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks
Thank you.
again. Everyone today is going to find offense in some things I say because I'm going to challenge your thinking. Whatever worked for your marketing 8 years ago doesn't work anymore. It's completely obsolete. Our big claim to fame was a client starting a band called the Backstreet Boys. Using news groups and chat groups, we built a database of 2 million teenage girls around the world. They became the fastest selling band of all time because it was the first music band ever to leverage the internet to build a fan base. We've been most famous for real estate sales. We've helped condominium developers sell literally billions of dollars of condominiums cheaper, faster than anyone else. We sold 367 condos in 90 minutes. We did $1 million a minute for 90 minutes in Phoenix, Arizona.
People started showing up at 2:15 a.m. At 10 till 4, I heard voices outside, jumped out of bed, looked out the window, and there were a bunch of people in chairs waiting.
We know how to build an incredible buzz or incredible excitement around a property through our marketing efforts.
When we do marketing campaigns for developers, one of the things that we immediately do is we start tracking and measuring what they do. And we present our reports to them, and they're like, I can't believe all the stuff that we thought worked isn't really working. This is the reality of real-time customer service. If you don't have a process for that, you will not be in business in 5 years. What we're going to talk about here is going to reshape your business.
The preceding was a paid presentation for Big Business Secrets.